Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Layton. I'm filming this on Monday, December 18th, and I feel like I'm not gonna be finishing any more books for the year. So I thought now would be the perfect time to do everything I've read in 2023. Did I do that backwards? I don't know. We'll have to find out when I'm editing. We're gonna be packing. I have my suitcase here. So we are going to pack to go home, and I'm also going to be telling you all the books I read and what I rated them. I actually hate packing. It's just the worst. It's just the worst. So, anyhow, let's just get right into the video. Here are most of my clothes, but we need to like put them in, obviously. Let's start off with the first book I read for the year. It was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I read this in January. I got this book for Christmas last year, and I feel like a lot of people my age especially, they know Jeanette McCurdy. You know, she was the star of the hit Nickelodeon show iCarly, and when she released her memoir, you know, titled I'm Glad My Mom Died, it sparked a lot of controversy. I know a lot of people were interested and wanted to read it, so I rated it 5 stars. Moving on to the second book I read Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and I rated that 4 stars out of 5, and I finished that in February. I really like this book too. It's kind of given like Wattpad, kind of, and I do like the story a lot. The only reason why I rated it 4 out of 5 stars was because I didn't love how she wrote the epilogue, which I know is a very minuscule thing, but if you're going to include an epilogue in a book, no matter what, I feel like it should be able to tie up all the loose ends into a nice little bow, and I didn't love how she decided to end the book. That's just my own personal preference. The third book I read for the year was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I rated that a 5-star book. I love that book. A lot of my friends are obsessed with Taylor Jenkins Reid. The show was released on Amazon Prime, and I told myself I would obviously read the book before I watched the show. So I did do that, and I read the book, and I loved it. I love the book. I thought it was so good. I actually gave it to my grandmother to read. I also read in February The Bodyguard by Catherine Center, and I rated that a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This was like another like cutesy little book, and from what I remember, it was very cute. I just did not also love the ending. I read 4 books in March. I read was How to Fall Out of Love Madly by Jana Casale. I might have said that wrong. And unfortunately, I rated that 2 out of 5 stars. And if I remember correctly, I was like suffering through that book. The next one I read in March was Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover, and I rated that a 5 out of 5 stars. Now, pause. I understand that Colleen Hoover, people either love her or hate her. I understand her hype, and I really do like how she writes. And I was actually gifted the first 2 Colleen Hoover books I've ever read. I'm pretty sure Reminders of Him was given to me by my grandmother. I also read in March Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I also rated that a 5 out of 5 stars. I thought this one was really cute. My friend recommended it to me, and it came up in my Goodreads multiple times, so I had to read that one. Okay, then I also read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I rated that a 3 out of 5 star. My best friend actually wanted me to read that. That's one of her favorite books, and I thought it was cute. I just found it very hard to keep up. I found it very confusing. There are so many characters. I also got like a little mixed up in like the writing style. So that was March. In April, I only read 1 book. I read People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and I rated that a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Let this be known, I'm a huge Emily Henry stan. I love all of her books. And I think that I'm most like this character, Poppy. I love her. I think that she's so like whimsical and like so positive, and I feel like that's very much me. Next, I read The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley in May, and I rated this one also a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really like this one. My sister actually picked out this book for me, and my sister is not the biggest reader. She doesn't love to read like I do, and she actually saw this in Barnes & Noble one day when we were there, and was like, Layton, this actually looks like a good book. And so I read it, and I was like, Lucy, this is actually a really good book. You should read it. And it's really cool because this was one of the first books I read this year that actually wasn't a romance-themed book. So it was nice to switch up the pace for sure. In May, I also read Happy Place by Emily Henry. I rated that one a 5 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read Funny You Should Ask by Elisa Sussman. This was also in May, and I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm pretty sure Funny You Should Ask is a fan fiction written about, I think, one of the Chris's. I think it's like Chris Evans or Chris Pine or one of those famous actors named Chris. Future Layton, when she's editing, she can fill you in. Editing Layton here. So I did my research, and Elisa Sussman credits a famous GQ profile about a wild weekend that the writer spent with actor Chris Evans. Moving right along, I read Nora Goes Off Script by Annabelle Monaghan. I rated it a 3 out of 5 stars. If I remember correctly, I thought it was really cute, but I thought the ending was like way too cheesy. Next up, I read The Setup by Lizzie Dent in June, and I rated this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars, which kind of stinks because I'm a huge also Lizzie Dent fan. If you're a fan of Emily Henry, you're gonna love Lizzie Dent because Lizzie Dent is the equivalent of Emily Henry, but like make her like over the pond. Lizzie Dents are all set in like England. I don't know why I rated it though a 3.5. Oh, I remember why. This is a spoiler alert. In The Setup, she decides to make a move that I didn't like. The character Mara decides to do something like right at the end of the book, after, you know, she's technically met like the one, she still decides to do something, and I didn't like that. So I was just a little disappointed by that, and I just didn't love how like that's how she decided to write the character Mara. Also in June, I read Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I rated this one a 5 out of 5 stars. This Colleen Hoover book was gifted to me by one of my friends for my birthday or like for Christmas, and I read it within like a day and a half. I was like crying like a little kid. Like, it was so good. Next up, July. It looks like I read 5 books in July. I read One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle, and I rated this one a 1 star. If you like this book, I'm glad you did. Unfortunately though, I did not like this book. I really got nothing else left to say. I think I'm also done packing all my clothes. Now I just gotta pack all my toiletries, but we'll do that later. All right, moving right along. Also in July, I read Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I rated this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this was cute. It definitely felt a little bit too young for like my reading level and for my liking, but nonetheless, it was cute. I read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Carly Fortune is another author that I love. I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was low-key giving The Summer I Turned Pretty. Okay, so moving right along, in July, I also read The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. I rated this one a 3 out of 5 stars. This one, the reason why I rated it 3 out of 5 stars, I think it was because, again, it felt like very young to me. I'm pretty sure the main character, she's set in like very early high school, and I'm in college. I'm 22 years old. Though it was cute, yes, I just couldn't really relate to the main character. I also think I didn't like the ending now that I'm thinking about it. It might be that case too. So next up in July, I read Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. Rated this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I also cried. Basically every Colleen Hoover book that I've read, I've cried. And Regretting You is one of Colleen's books that she didn't write about romance. It's actually about a mother and her daughter. I read that one also in like a day. Now we're in August. I read Once More with Feeling by Elisa Sussman. This is her second book. This one is about the artist. If you know Elisa Sussman, her first book was about, you know, the fanfic on Chris, one of the Chris's, and it was like an actor. And then Once More with Feeling is about an artist. I always pictured Harry Styles. I feel like I could be wrong, but that's just how I pictured the main love interest. And I rated this one, by the way, a 5 out of 5 star. Also in August, I read The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I rated that one a 5 out of 5, which is ironic because earlier I read Lynn Painter's Better Than Movies and I rated that one a 4 out of 5. I feel like The Love Wager was just a little bit older, and I think that's why I liked it a lot better. Who just texted me? Then I read Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I rated this one a 3.5, and for some reason I can't remember what it's about. Hold on, let's see what this book is about. Oh, okay, Practice Makes Perfect. Okay, so ironically, I read this book and I didn't realize that it's the second one in the series. Nonetheless, I thought it was cute. I just feel like it was kind of like rushed and unrealistic. Also in August, I read One True Lovers by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I rated this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I love this one. I think this one was so good. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. She's one of my top authors of the year. And then right after that, I read Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. Unfortunately, I rated this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars, only because her first book was still fresh in my mind. I had very high expectations. Moving on, this is when I started the Off-Campus series. If you know or if you've heard about this series, it is addictive. Every time I read one of the books from the Off-Campus series, I read it in about 1 to 2 days. Like, I'm obsessed. So I read the first one. It's called The Deal. It's by Elle Kennedy. I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. If you want to know the premise, it's about 4 hockey dudes, and it's spread out along 4 books, and each book is dedicated to each of the 4 dudes and how they met, like, the love of their life, basically, how they fell in love. It is set in college when they're all juniors and seniors, which is super relatable because that's my age. And I also just like how Elle Kennedy was able to really portray like a normal college kid. It's fun being able to read like something that I can relate to, and I think that's something that I look forward to when I read a book. I try and see myself. Oh my god, I just ran out of space on my phone. Let's try this again. Next up in September, I read It Ends With Us, Colleen Hoover, 5 out of 5 stars, nobody's shocked. Then, following up, my grandmother actually gifted me both the first and second book in that series by Colleen Hoover. So I read It Starts With Us. I rated this one a 3.5 stars out of 5 because I feel like the first book, you know, she leaves author notes, and I like how she was able to take from her own experience and write about it. And I think that the second book, though it's great to see the main character is able to move forward with her life, I feel like she didn't really need to write a second book. Towards the end of the year, I only read about 2 books each month. So in October, I read The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. I rated that a 4 out of 5 stars. Abby actually wrote a 2-part book. The Friend Zone's really cute. It follows this girl and how she ends up meeting the love of her life. And then in the second book, it follows the girl's best friend and how she finds the love of her life. The second book, actually, though, I did read it following right after The Friend Zone. It's called The Happy Ever After Playlist. I rated this one a 5 out of 5. Don't get me wrong, I liked the first book a lot, and I thought that it was a nice way to introduce all the characters, but I thought that the 5th book, or the second book, liked the story aspect better. Oh, I should have made a tier list. Whatever, what's done is done. Next up, I read The Mistake and The Score by Elle Kennedy. These are the second and third books in the Off-Campus series, and I rated both of them a 5 out of 5 star. Then I read Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult and her daughter Samantha Van Leer, and I rated that a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Hear me out. This is my best friend's favorite book, and though it is cute, it's very much fantasy and very much like very, very, very young adult to potentially even child. I don't really like reading fantasy to begin with. I also didn't love the ending. I mean, it is a fantasy book, but it's also very unrealistic. It was still fun to read though, and I do understand that when my best friend read this though, she was a lot younger, and she's also a big fantasy lover. She loves the whole Percy Jackson, Harry Potter, Divergent, Hunger Games, all that, and I know that falls into the fantasy sci-fi world. And the last book and the most recent book that I read was here in December. It was The Goal, the 4th book in the Elle Kennedy Off-Campus series, and ironically, this whole Off-Campus series I rated 5 stars. However, this last book, I'm gonna break some people's hearts. I rated it a 3.5 out of 5 stars.
I feel like I did not explain why I didn't love the 4th book in the Off-Campus series well enough. So let me explain for you guys. The 4th book, personally, I did not like the storyline because, again, I've already read 3 books involving all of these characters, and the 4th book focused obviously on the 4th guy from the hockey team, and he's this like very sweet Southern boy. And I don't really think that the character she paired him up with, like his love interest, was really suited for him. I didn't love her storyline also. I still thought it was a good story and I enjoyed reading it. I just didn't think that the story came together as well as the first 3.
That's it. That's all the books I've read. Okay, so I read 34 books this year. I just had to count off camera. But I read 34 books this year. I went over my goal. I read a lot of books all the time, and if I'm not able to get my hands on a physical copy, I read off my Kindle, and I'm gonna let you guys on a secret. that you guys may or may not know. With Kindle, you can download the app. You can download it in the Google Play or App Store. I've already done my research. It's called Libby. Libby is an app that connects to your Kindle account and you are able to check out books. That is a way that I read most of the books throughout this year. I have a Kindle Paperweight. Look how thin and light she is. I decorated her. I put a sticker on the back. This is my Kindle. I love her. I bring her everywhere with me, and this is how I'm able to read books. This is not a sponsorship. I'm just telling all my book girlies because I love reading. It's one of my favorite things. I prefer reading over watching TV and watching movies at the end of my day. I'm a big reader. If you guys want, I'll put my Goodreads tag right here. You guys can follow me along in 2024, and this was all my opinion. Please don't come for me in the comments, and if you agree with me, comment down below. And if you guys have any book recommendations, please also comment down below. I always am open for a good book recommendation. I feel like after this video, you guys also might know my book preference, so you guys can give me some nice little books to read in the coming year. 2023 is wrapping up. It's very bittersweet, but I'm excited for the coming year. I hope you guys really liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to follow me on social media, because if you guys are a returning viewer of mine or you are subscribed to me and you know me, you guys might know what video I'm putting together for the end of 2023. It's my favorite video I do on my channel, so stay tuned. I hope you guys all had a very lovely day wherever you are, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye, guys.